Good afternoon. Welcome to the Blood Talk Sports Podcast. This episode will be the Eagles and Browns reaction video coming to you straight this afternoon, fresh after, well, I don't want to say fresh after, but almost 2 hours after the game. A little bit more intel and diagnostics and things that I kind of picked up. Nonetheless, Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Like, share, and subscribe. Getting right into this episode. Good fucking win for the Eagles. Definitely was much needed. I don't even think you could understate. It wasn't the most important win that they had of the season, but it was definitely a win that was much needed. And let's not bullshit ourselves. Had they lost this game to a team that bad, we probably say they're fucking done and they're probably not going to make it. So got to give them credit for that. But starting out, was a bit concerned. Looking at the offense starting the game. Jalen Hurts started out 0-5. You kind of see there was really like no continuity. They were trying to like throw the ball, but there was more of a fluidity and coordination with running the ball, which I didn't understand what Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, what the fuck they were doing there. You kind of had Saquon. I mean, the first run of the game, the first play, you give Saquon the ball, it's a 6-yard gain. Jalen runs the ball a couple plays after that. You gotta sometimes understand, take what the defense is giving you. I understand you have a game plan. I understand that you have things that you want to, press upon the defense and try to employ and use to your advantage. However, all of that being said, that running game is there for Philadelphia. That is literally the bread and butter for this team. And it just seems like a lot of times they try to stray away from it early on, and I don't understand why. I really don't. But having said that, once they got going, they got going. They were controlling the game, and it was weird because if you notice, like early in the first quarter, couldn't really get it together, and then by that second quarter, they were really starting to control the game. And then it was a weird sequence. You see, they scored. AJ Brown. I could touch on that in a little bit. AJ being back. They start getting the ball moving. They get downfield, and there was a sequence towards the end of the second quarter where you're up 10-0. You got a nice lead against this Browns team who's floundering. Your defense is smothering them. Offensively, Deshaun Watson looks fucking washed. It was bad. Then to top it off with the cavalcade, and it's funny because I was sitting there with my wife watching the game, and all I kept saying to her was, it was the little things. It's really the little things when you watch football. A lot of times we get caught up with the highlights or the big plays, or the big fumble, or the big strip sack. But really, what it really boils down to is, did the guy block in this moment? Did he get the first down instead of stepping out of bounds too early? Did that lineman pick up the blitz when he was supposed to that allowed the quarterback enough time? Little nuanceical things like that. Having said that, weird sequence at the end of the second quarter where you got Saquon getting the ball, quick little dump off. He doesn't get out of bounds. Okay. He gets out of bounds, but it looks like he got the first down. Okay. After review, referee decides and shows he got out of bounds a yard before he crossed the marker. Okay. Then, and this is very interesting because, again, unless you're really paying attention to shit like this or football, it wouldn't really pick up to you. I was just watching earlier pregame, watching a lot of Eagles pregame, and I noticed that Brian Baldinger was sitting, in the... I want to say it was one of the end zones. Could have been the north or the south end zone. Whatever. It's meaningless at this point. He was sitting in the end zone and he was watching Saquon Barkley work on pass protection. And you can see the Eagles running back coaches were working with him, telling him how he's got to come and attack, the blitzer head on. He's got to meet the guy, in the midst of his pursuit. Because if you don't, it's going to lead to a play where the quarterback's going to get sacked. And lo and fucking behold, the very next play after Saquon doesn't get the first down, he blows a block. And Jalen gets sacked and puts you out of field goal range, which then, domino effect, leads to Myles Garrett, who is just a freak fucking athlete, great defensive player, hurdling over the line for the special teams, hurdling over the field goal line, and literally blocking the field goal. And then, lo and behold, Rodney McLeod, former Eagle, picks it up, runs it in for a score, 50-yard touchdown. Could have really changed the whole fucking complexion of the game. I would not bullshit you. I was definitely pissed off. Again, Myles Garrett made a hell of a play, but it's, again, the little things. Saquon gets that first down. That's not even a play that has to happen. You're still putting pressure on their defense, and you probably score again before halftime. So, again, Get nothing out of it. Now, instead of going up, scoring 6 points, it's a tie game. Not looking good. However, going into that second half, I love the game plan that they had. The mix of run and pass was there. They got guys integrated back into the offense. There was a lot of ball distribution, a lot of different guys touching the ball today, which I thought was great. But I would be remiss if I did not say it is a damn good feeling to have A.J. Brown back on that fucking field. I mean, 6 receptions, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. He had the 22-yard touchdown early in the first quarter. Then he had that dagger 43-yard reception. I mean, he just cannot. He's playing like when he's played this year. Great, he's missed 3 games due to injury with the hamstring injury. But the first game of the season and in this game, when he's played, he's been unstoppable. I mean, guys are holding him, draped over him. Doesn't matter. He's catching it. You put it in his vicinity, he's catching the ball. So it was amazing to see him back. Smitty got in on the action. Great to see him back too. He technically had the touchdown that kind of sealed the game late in the middle of the fourth quarter. 3 receptions, 64 yards. Offensive line, I thought played well, really in the run game. They were kind of decent in the pass game. They kind of got better late in the game. But awesome performance from your wide receivers. Love what I saw from Grant Calcaterra today. He played amazingly with Dallas Goedert going down, which I'll touch on that a little bit later. Amazing. Like I said, definitely like what I saw. I like the ball control that Philly ran towards the end of the game, which I thought was needed. You definitely needed to see that this team could do that going into late in the season and potentially the playoffs. Because if you can't control the clock late in the game, you're going to lose. You're going to get your ass kicked because if you can't stop teams and then you can't capitalize when you have a lead and then you give the team the ball back, you give them momentum, all bets are off at that point. I also definitely want to touch on Cooper DeJean playing nickel cornerback today. I said this 2 weeks ago during the last Eagles game. I said there is no way in hell Avonte Maddox can continue to be the nickel cornerback. And I think today we got a nice prelude of what Cooper DeJean can do. Got a sack, played well in pass coverage, special teams. I mean, good tackler. I was highly impressed. He was one of the standout players today. There's no reason he should come off the field. I'll be honest with you. Like he's exactly what I thought he would be playing that position. Him and Quinyon Mitchell. Again, Quinyon had an outstanding game today. I like these picks. These guys have to play more. And I like how this is all kind of like leading into it and it's kind of playing out because Cooper DeJean showed his ass today. He was definitely on point. Also, too, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Jalen Hurts. Clean game by Jalen Hurts. No turnovers. Something we definitely needed to see from Jalen. He looked good in the pocket. I noticed Jonathan Vilma was talking about it a lot. And I've been kind of bringing this up to people throughout the season so far up to this point, being at his week 6. Guys, we can talk about the turnovers. And he's definitely got to clean that up. He's led the league in turnovers since last year. Jalen has not played some of his best football at times. However, this year, he looks like a totally different quarterback. The way he's been playing from the pocket, how accurate he's been at times, the issue that I think sometimes has been pocket presence and decisiveness when trying to make a decision on where to go. Sometimes I think he feels like he wants to go here, but really the read is there and he still goes that way instead. So nonetheless, I like what I saw from today. Decisive, no hesitation. That type of Jalen Hurts playing is going to lead the Eagles very far. Very far. I like the way very clean game from today. Now to the Browns. They're fucked. It's bad. I've watched a couple games of the Browns this year, and I've seen them struggle. They've dealt with a ton of injuries, so I'd be remiss if I don't say that. Offensive line injuries, running back injuries, defensive player. They had guys. Hell, Myles Garrett. He was important today. He almost didn't play today. So it just shows you how, important they've kind of needed guys to just get healthy and just get back into the flow of things. That being said, there's no way Kevin Stefanski can continue to run this operation the way it is. I mean, let me just give you a snapshot. They lived in 3rd and long today. And what do I mean when I say they lived in 3rd and long? They were 3 of 12 on 3rd down. And I need you to hear me. Every time they got a sustainable drive, made a big play, penalty that brought them back 5 to 10 yards. Then understand how bad they played as an offensive line. Now, I want to make sure I read this correctly. The Browns' offensive line, right, allowed 5 sacks today. Keep this in mind. The Eagles' defense going into this game had only had 6 sacks on the season, ranked 29th going into this game. So on average, that means the Eagles are averaging 1 sack a game. So literally 5 sacks in this one game. That's not sustainable if you're the Cleveland Browns. Your offensive line is Swiss fucking cheese, and you're at a point now where literally you're going to have to make adjustments because what you're doing is not working. Also, you may have to consider benching Deshaun Watson. I mean, he played terrible. I think he had 46 yards at halftime, and then, he gets hot late. He goes 10 of 10, and they're like, oh, he's starting to get hot. He's starting to make plays. Yeah, his passer rating was great. He played like shit. I don't think anybody decisively could say, you know what, this is the game where Deshaun Watson looked like himself. There was plays that he made where you're like, yeah, he's starting to come back to form. He's starting to look like himself again. Then it was just like, nah, bad pass, dirt ball, running into a sack, not reading. And then I don't even think his offensive coordinator is doing him any justice, whether it's Stefanski, whoever the fuck is calling the plays on offense. Because when you sit there and you realize that, okay, the Philly is sitting on our screens. Philadelphia is sitting on our screens. Why don't we switch it up? And what do they give you? Njoku screen on 3rd and 12. Let's throw it to Powers. Let's throw it to the running back Powers on 3rd and 11. Let's give it to Amari Cooper on 3rd and 9. It's just bad. It's just bad. It's bad. It's really going to be a dumpster fire because I don't know when they can turn it around, and I don't know how they turn it around because I don't know if it's just health. Because looking today, their defense kept them within this game. Make no mistake about it. They did not do shit offensively. Their defense kept them in the game. However, you got to score. The only touchdown that they scored the whole damn game was on special teams. Their offense gave them nothing. So, yeah, it's bad. And then Jerry Jeudy, 1 catch for 35 yards. You traded how much for this man? And you got that. I mean, very conservative play calling. Depth is also an issue. They were Elijah Moore is getting injured. Ford got injured today. I mean, linemen they lost their center. There are true problems in Cleveland, and I don't know if the combination of the injuries and the bad football on offense are going to be able to be fixed. I mean, granted, it's week 6. It's not like it's week 16. However, time might be running out. You're 1-5 now. And wrapping this up, touching up on the Eagles. Something I definitely wanted to highlight that I think has been like a crawl in my side so far for the first 6 weeks of the season. If I'm just speaking purely Eagles offensive football, I'm not loving the mix of play calling by Kellen Moore. He has to commit to a more diverse play calling. I like, again, second half of this football game, I like what he ran, the run-pass ratio. I like how they mixed it up. And instead of doing motion and in the repetitive plays you're doing, you gotta get a little sexy. You gotta get just a little sexy because it just seemed like some of those plays were very mundane and you kind of knew what was coming. And again, play calling was good in the second quarter, good in the fourth quarter. However, you need that sustained throughout a game if this team's going to really compete and play at a high level, potentially late in the year, postseason, potentially Super Bowl. There's no way in hell they're going to play great football and do what they want to do if they can only play 2 quarters out of a 4-quarter game of good football. So I definitely need to see more from him and just keep them at a high level of consistency. And if he can do that, again, this team could really go far, but they got to have him step up with his play calling because it was a lot to be desired today. First half, didn't really know what you were trying to do. Third quarter, beginning of the third quarter, you kind of, hit or miss. But again, you got to give the offense credit. They were controlling the ball. They were moving the ball, getting yards. They knew exactly what they were trying to do. got to give the defense for Cleveland credit. They came in with a game plan, and I got to really give Kellen Moore credit because, to a degree, the offense was attacking at such a high rate that it forced Jim Schwartz not to be able to blitz. And even when his men were one-on-one, it was not enough. So, little things, but just something in my crawl that I think needs to get fixed, because if it can be fixed, this team can really be at an elite level and play an elite level and put themselves in position to be playing in January and beyond. And I'm going to wrap this show up talking about the injuries. You know, you guys know I hate fucking injuries, especially for the Birds. You know, I pray every game that they walk out fairly healthy, but it's part of the game. Dallas Goedert walked out in the first quarter is actually with a hamstring injury. You know, it's never a good sign. So hopefully he doesn't miss a bunch of time, but you know he's definitely going to be missing some time. Darius Slay looked like he got a knee injury at some point within the third quarter. I'm going to be honest with you. With the way I felt about Darius Slay this year and the way he's played, it was a breath of fresh air to see Isaiah Rodgers in there. Even Kaylee Ringo had made some plays. Didn't like the play where Kaylee Ringo opened up his hips and gave up that first down on that third and long to Amari Cooper. That was a bad play, but overall, I liked how Isaiah Rodgers played. I think he needs to be the starting right corner. And then, of course, the heartbreaker, Jordan Mailata. We don't know how severe the injury is right now. However, he did suffer an ankle injury late in the game. He had to be carted off. Wasn't something that I was definitely happy about. He limped to the sidelines. I'm pretty sure they carted him off so he didn't sustain further damage. Hopefully it's just a high ankle sprain. Hopefully it's not something that's going to have him out for weeks, because he's a premier tackle in this league. He's one of the huge linchpins on that offensive line. And it's just one of those things where when you start thinking you're getting continuity, you start missing guys. Now, the benefit, though, Fred Johnson, being that he got some game action early in the year. He played against New Orleans, played against Tampa. I think that was great. He played pretty decent on the left side today. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Like I said, that was Eagles and Browns reaction after the game. Fly Eagles fly. Good win for Philadelphia. They won 20-16. They're just going to have to keep plugging away. Definitely going to have to keep plugging away. I don't think that there's going to be a situation where they're going to be able to say, you know, we can rest on our laurels and everything's going to be fine. They got to continue to execute at a high level to be where they want to be. Without that, this team is going to lose, and they're not going to be in the situation or predicament that they want to be. Looking at their schedule for next week, looks like next week will be the Giants. Very interesting. And that game looks like it's going to be in New York, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the Eagles play this out. Definitely going to need that. It's a division game they're going to need to win. I think it's a game that's definitely winnable. However, it being in the Meadowlands, we know it's been a house of horrors for Jalen and that team within the past couple games that they played, so we'll see. But that'll wrap it up for the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast in this video. Again, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.